Folks, welcome back, and it is Wednesday, and you know what that means. Unless you've been living on an outer rim planet, it is Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi released its episode 5 today, and we are here on What's Trainwreck watching to break it down. We are here with our resident expert, Michael J. Parthum. Middle initial might not be J, but I just made that up. With that said, we will not make up any other facts about this episode. How you doing, Mike?
It literally is J, by the way. I don't know how you either remember that or knew that.
I have no idea. Wait, sometimes it's on the tip of your tongue, just like the name Obi-Wan Kenobi. Before we get started with our recap of today's 5th episode, just a quick shout out to our guy Jake. Has a minor migraine. He's on the mend and hoping to be back in the mix ASAP. But with that said, Parthum being in the mix ASAP. Oh, I have episode 4 up there. I didn't switch it. With that said, what'd you think of today's episode?
Action's starting to pick up. All the pieces are starting to fall into place as to what the finale is going to look like, which I don't have a solid clue as to what it's going to look like, but I have a vague idea, and we'll get to that with finale predictions.
Obviously. So we will get into the episode now. Spoilers ahead, obviously, for Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney+. So this episode, right out of the gate, always good to see Coruscant in the daytime, as you know, you get to see that, and we see Obi-Wan and Anakin training back in the day. Pretty great flashback sequence to start the episode.
Yeah, I think this is our first full-on Hayden Christensen glimpse. We've seen glimpses of him here and there. I don't know if that was him in the Vader makeup, like in the bacta tank. We definitely saw something in the distance in the desert where Obi-Wan was having, like, you know, these visions or mirages or something. But there's Hayden Christensen in his Attack of the Clones, you know, look, with a digital de-aging, I guess, and everything. And it's him and Obi-Wan basically dueling before, you know, the actual duel in episode 3. I mean, you basically knew this was going to be all about, you know, Anakin's aggression and Obi-Wan teaching him a lesson.
Seriously, it was going to be Obi-Wan, you know, kind of asserting that role as the master, especially with the fact, I think someone pointed out in some of the clips I was reading that it's pre-Attack of the Clones, as indicated by the fact that he still has his original hand. And obviously his Padawan braid. But we are on our way. Obviously, Kenobi just barely escaped on last episode. They're tracking him, and they go to Jabim, which is kind of, you know, which will now be in the annals of Crate and Tatooine and Hoth as rebel strongholds. What'd you think of this spot? What'd you think of Roken? What'd you think of the whole thing going down at this HQ?
I mean, they didn't get a lot of time to rest. I mean, those tracking devices that they put on those rebel ships, or any kind of ships for that matter, they work pretty quickly. I didn't expect the droid Leia's little droid to go full on dark side. I just thought they put a tracking device on it and, you know, it was glowing red. But then it started, you know, working for the enemy and just sabotaging doors here and there.
Yeah, opening doors, closing doors behind it. I've never seen a droid be up to so much no good.
Well, Leia took care of that pretty quickly once she saw what was going on, and that's later on in the show. But it looked pretty grim. And for all intents and purposes, they should not have been able to get out there, and we'll get to how they get out there in a few segments.
Of course. So we get to some action. They obviously track them to Jabim. So this is where we see Vader and Reva have face-to-face. She's on deck of his ship. Promotes her to Grand Inquisitor. Did anything seem off about this scene? I know we're into the spoilers now, and obviously we'll get there eventually, but did it seem like it was a little, like, nonchalant?
Well, we knew this promotion wasn't going to last for anybody that's watched a previous series or two. So obviously this wasn't going to. It was going to be a short-lived promotion.
Yes,
is all I knew. I just didn't know whether it was going to go to heck like in this episode or the next episode. But it turned around pretty quick.
It did turn around pretty quick. Yes, obviously from the outer, you know, Star Wars universe outside of Kenobi, we know Reva's not long for this role. But obviously she brings the troops to Jabim. We kind of have a little of a fortress scene. It seemed like they were really up against it. I'm not going to lie. Logistically, I feel like the Empire kind of had them dead to rights here. Were you surprised that they were kind of able to at least lock it down for the time being?
Oh, you can lock it down. I mean, they started firing at the door, and you figure, okay, it's just a matter of time. But Reva's right there with a freaking lightsaber, and eventually she, gets to the door, and after a little bit of negotiating with ObiWan, she finally figures, oh, I can just cut through this, Qui-Gon Jinn style, and
And she has a pretty good tagline when she does it. She talks about doing stuff herself, and then she just cuts through the lock.
Oh yeah, I thought Reva's right there. I thought, why are they wasting time trying to blast it through? She has a freaking lightsaber for crying out loud.
Seriously, they just had to go episode 1 on it for sure. Mm-hmm. So she breaks that. All hell ends up breaking loose on Jabeam at the HQ. We do have kind of a defense. They were able to kind of make some layers of, troops so they could retreat at times. Obviously, the choreography was a little wonky, given that you had so many stormtroopers. But again, they haven't exactly proved them to be able to stop any horde or group of of our heroes, I should say, not superheroes. With that said, eventually we do have to get a sacrifice of Tala. Eventually the number games are too much. What do you think of the ultimate contributions to the series and the overall role?
F's in the chat for Tala. She went out like a badass. I mean, thermal detonator and all.
Seriously, it takes some moxie to go out with a thermal detonator. Reva's able to survive that. And that's when we realize she's got him. She's got ObiWan basically dead rights. They're locked in the... what would you call that? Like a hangar bay that they were kind of in at that point?
Pretty much. I mean, it's pretty basically a launch bay with the big opening at the top, which, and once they have that open, I mean, the Empire already landed their 2 ships. Can't they just go in through the top?
I was going to say, I was a little, were you a little surprised? I mean, obviously we know Vader is all about getting Obi-Wan himself. And we know that stormtroopers can be a little... reckless, and we know that he doesn't want any mistake in that made. Are you a little surprised that he just shows up with 1 Star Destroyer, knowing that he's hunting Obi-Wan Kenobi?
I think he doesn't care about the Star Destroyers. I think he cares about the fact that he can outduel Obi-Wan or anybody else.
He wants to go one-on-one, is what you're saying, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yes, no matter what.
This technological terror that they've constructed is insignificant next to the Force.
Of course, who could forget those famous words from the Sith Lord himself? So again, we get Obi-Wan and Reva, and we kind of glossed over it, but this is where we get the confirmation, something that we were expecting this whole series. Reva was part of the younglings that were attacked by Anakin in Order 66 when the Jedi Temple were attacked. What'd you think of so far in the episode, the storytelling up to this point? We had seen about 2 or 3 flashbacks at this point.
I was a little surprised that we didn't get hints of this going in. I mean, we've got the big hint with the opening scene in the first episode, and we kind of figured there's going to be a significance to this, and Reva's probably going to play into it. She probably is going to end up being revealed as a youngling. But I'm surprised we didn't get hints of this, like her having little flashbacks before this. It all basically came in this episode. And when she's talking with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan at one point doesn't know what to say because she's asking, why weren't you there? What did you do to stop it? He wasn't there because he was off fighting the Clone Wars, and he got suckered just like the rest of the Jedi. He was fortunate to survive, and he did try to kill Anakin. I thought he might have said something to that effect, and Reva would still say, well, obviously you didn't finish the job, and I'm going to finish it for you, something like that.
True. That would have been a good setup, and obviously there is kind of a leave-off in them because they talk, they kind of have a little whisper conversation in front of some stormtroopers. Some might say that's a little sus, but at the end of the day, Vader's on his way to Jabeam, walking through the fortress. Obi-Wan is kind of like under stormtrooper guard in a barricade. It's a weird situation. What'd you think of Vader storming into the HQ, just not caring that like 15 stormtroopers were getting murked or were already murked?
He doesn't give a damn about stormtroopers, of course. Yeah, the flashback scene, paralleling Vader and his arrogance trying to get to Obi-Wan himself. I thought when Reva put Obi-Wan back inside the complex with the doors closing, that was kind of strange to me because, like, would Vader, say, why didn't you just keep him out here, keep an eye on him or something? Because he had to know that Obi-Wan was going to break free and just, even without a lightsaber, the stormtroopers are no match for him at close range, at least. But maybe that was part of Reva's plan. Maybe Obi-Wan did get to her right then, and she thought, well, if I let Obi-Wan, on the loose and Vader's going to track him, then I can, try to sucker him from behind like she did. Vader was definitely arrogant, but he wasn't arrogant to the point of stupidity. As he said to Reva eventually, he knew what was going on the whole time with her, at least.
True. He was never blind to it. Vader's all-knowing, and as we see, this is kind of a whole series of events where he's just popping off. First, comes into the hangar, stops essentially like a freighter ship. I don't think we've seen anybody stop a ship, 1/10 the size of what Rey did in The Rise of Skywalker. I mean,
I've seen this in fanfics where Vader stops a whole ship with the Force. I mean, I guess it's not that surprising.
Not crazy surprising, but again, it's odd. Like, he also threw a lightsaber. That's something that we've never seen, outside of like the video games, basically. Like the lightsaber boomerang fights. So Reva obviously tries to get the jump on him. Vader halts her with the Force at the last second. Again, explains he knows everything. Fights her without the lightsaber.
Yes.
Thoughts on that?
That was, that was him toying with her. Just like he might have been toying with ObiWan in a couple episodes ago, where he doesn't even need the lightsaber to beat her, and then he just beats her with her own lightsaber, by the way.
Yes, with her old lightsaber, gives her obviously takes her down, and that's where we see the last twist. The Grand Inquisitor still alive, basically the worst kept secret in the Star Wars universe, given the canon. But you gotta love how like saucy Vader is to just have him hanging out while he takes on Reva one-on-one.
Yeah, I had know until this point that Vader knew about what Reva's deal was. I thought the Grand Inquisitor was just going to show up and spill the beans to Vader about what was really going on and what really happened to him back in Episode 2. But I guess this was just the plan all along, and somehow the Grand Inquisitor knew he was going to survive or knew he would be able to survive somehow. But man, Vader just has all the chess pieces in place, I guess.
Seriously, he is not messing around. Speaking of not messing around, we got one episode left. So Obi-Wan and Co are on their way to Jabim. We get Reva taken down. Apparently, lightsaber wounds to the abdomen, especially if you're a dark side user, are just really not that endangering.
Yeah, Qui-Gon could have used a little turn to the dark side at the end of Episode 1, apparently, because dark side's good for the stomach.
Seriously, 100% could have used that.
It is. The other question I had is, why didn't they finish her off? I mean, they just left her there to suffer?
He did. The Grand Inquisitor did make like a scene of it, like being like they left her exactly where they found her or whatever, right? Like in the sewer or in the dirt.
But they didn't think that she was going to be able to recover and possibly, I mean, we know that she's going to go back after them.
Oh, 100%. And to be honest, thank goodness they laid that on so thick, because I wouldn't have thought about that. And this comes to the other thing. What the hell is Bail Organa doing with this message? I know you said not to call, and just in case this is in like enemy hands, like with no password encryption.
I was afraid that Vader was going to find it. But then that would be too much information, and Vader would know about Tatooine and who was there. But I wonder what Reva's going to do with it now. Like, she's
got to be on her way to Tatooine.
Is she? Well, like, she confronted Owen Lars about, do you know a Jedi or whoever? Vader's her target. She doesn't care about other Jedi. She doesn't care about hunting other Jedi. It was just a means to an end of hunting Vader in the grand scheme of things. But I don't see anybody going back to Tatooine, at least immediately. I see this ending in space or on some other planet, because ultimately Vader can't know about what's so special about Tatooine, right?
Of course, 100%. You know that Vader can't find out about that. You know that Reva obviously is not a big player in the future trilogies. So there's a couple of things that might have to happen in this remaining episode. So with that said, with the remaining episode 6 next week, the finale of this season. We don't know if there will be more seasons of Obi-Wan. Obviously, this show has had some interesting reception, a lot of it positive, some of it negative, truthfully. With that said, finale predictions. I think it's safe to say, Obi-Wan and Vader might not face off again. Maybe face off again. This is kind of a situation where Obi-Wan kind of played him, right? Like, so this did reverse the roles, but I don't know if it's guaranteed. With that said, what are you guaranteeing for a finale prediction for Obi-Wan?
Oh, I'll guarantee that there's going to be an Obi-Wan Vader face-off because Vader knows Obi-Wan is out there. And I think this has to end in a way where Obi-Wan and Vader have one last fight face-off of some kind, and it ends in basically a draw where Vader doesn't know Obi-Wan Kenobi's fate, where he may be dead, he may be alive, because that's the vagueness that Vader approached the subject of Obi-Wan in Star Wars Rebels. That's how it has to be in A New Hope, where Kenobi may still be alive or may not be.
It's a puzzle piece. They view that all as canon.
There's going to be a final fight. It may involve all of Obi-Wan, Reva, Vader, and maybe the Grand Inquisitor. And I think Reva's going to make that last minute turn. I mean, she did sort of make a turn. Like, she was going to go after Vader all along.
She big showed today.
Yeah. She's going to probably make one last sacrifice for Obi-Wan, or to try to get to Vader, or something to that effect. There's going to be a big fight. I don't know how many parties are going to be involved, but Reva's probably not going to survive this, and Obi-Wan's going to find a way to make I'm forgetting the Jedi from Star Wars Rebels. Who was the master in Star Wars Rebels?
Kanan?
Kanan. It's going to be like Kanan's death, and Vader will think like, oh, Obi-Wan's dead now, but in essence, Kenobi will still be alive, and it'll all be smoke and mirrors, and Vader thinks he may be dead, he may be alive, but I'm still going to hunt for him, because the Emperor said in that scene in Rebels, Vader's saying, perhaps Kenobi, we can find Kenobi, and the Emperor goes, perhaps if he lives.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to fit into that somehow, like, yeah, you found Kenobi, but he may or may not be alive at this point. True. And I don't know where it's going to happen. It might be on Alderaan. It might be on a ship. It might be another planet. But, yeah.
My prediction, I think that we are going to get another Jedi in this last episode. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe we'll see the Grand Inquisitor hunting after he's all happy that, he's been re-promoted to his old position. I just think we kind of left that a little dry after, in the first episode, the Inquisitors were so gung-ho about Jedi, but now they're tunnel visioned on Kenobi. So I'm thinking about maybe we'll see that. I know Vader obviously wants all hands on deck, but at the same time, I think he wants to handle Obi-Wan himself.
Vader was probably telling them from the get-go, Kenobi is all that matters now. If you find any other Jedi, it's, it's all gravy. But we'll use Reva for the time being, but it's all to get to Obi-Wan.
So it's still so ridiculous that Vader just had the Inquisitor chilling while he was battling Reva, when you think about it. All right, once I beat her into the dirt, then you'll walk out slowly. Yeah, make the grand reveal. I mean, Anakin's a sucker for drama, I guess, even when he's on the dark side. Oh, Anakin loves drama. He loves puns, loves everything. But hey, folks, we hope you love riding along with us. Make sure you're tuning in, whether it's SoundCloud, YouTube, Twitter, Apple, Spotify. Make sure you're riding along with us as we're watching along. Any final thoughts or shout-outs for going into next week's episode, Parthum? I think episode 6 in Obi-Wan Kenobi series will be a day long remembered. Wow. You heard it there first, folks. Make sure you're following him at Michael Parthum. Make sure you're following me if you feel like it at Zach Sheldon, because it's not about last week's emails. It's not about next week's plans. It's about next week's episode.